Hello, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Scenes. They call me Stepney. I'm joined by Louis Findlay. Is it Findlay? Findlay? Findlay?
Findlay, yeah. Findlay, yeah, and thank you for pronouncing my first name correct as well.
You know what? It's definitely Louis. What do people usually say?
Louis or Lois. Yeah.
Louis?
Lois,
Really?
yeah. Lois doesn't have a U in it.
No.
No. But you got it in one, so thank you.
You know what? I get it. I get that as well because my name's Stephen, and everybody goes. Well, not everybody, but some people go Stefan. You go, nope. Try again.
No.
It's not Stefan. Nope. It's my name. I know what my name is. You know.
Yeah, I basically people call me Louis, and I just go with it now. Just go with it.
Well, that's why I changed mine to they call me Stepney, so that everybody goes.
Yeah, I like that. I should change my name to they call me Louis. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that tomorrow. Change all my handles on social media.
They call me. That's what they call me. Because the question that I always get back is, "Who's they?" I go, "Well, everyone. You know, they are they.
Yeah, the whole world."
They call me. Thank you for joining me. I know I've been a bit rubbish with the old A communications and B getting to do this particular show. So thank you for
All right, we're here now.
taking the time out, and yeah, it's much appreciated.
Thanks for having me.
So, okay, the one I always start off with, and I quite like it because it's a good icebreaker and it helps set the tone, I guess. I know who Louis is now. We've had a little chat before, but as the question says at the bottom of the screen there, tell the viewers a little bit about who you are and who is Louis.
I don't really like to just say, "Oh, hi, I'm Louis, I'm an actor," because I feel like a lot of actors chase this industry, right? And like, if you never make it to where you want to be, who are you when that's no longer there? Do you know if that makes sense? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you take acting inside away, who are you? So, I'm a dad. It's a 2-year-old. I'm a husband. I used to do parkour and free running professionally before moving into acting. And yeah, I've been acting now, I say professionally, trying to do it professionally for 10 years now. Started out as an extra, just to learn the trade, really. And I really liked it. And I also found that I liked being behind the scenes as well. And I think as an extra, like, you are the first sort of people on set and you're always the last to go. And in that time when you're not on set and you're just waiting around waiting to be called on, you get to see what's going on behind the scenes. And I really took an interest in that. And I think that's probably where my love for filmmaking began as well. So yes, I act, but I also write and direct and produce my own work as well. So yeah, when you have a dry spell in acting, you're not getting the jobs, I'll just go out and make work. And what I like about that is I think if you know how a camera works, you know how to hit marks, and you've got some idea of sort of like blocking and stage direction. When it actually comes to being in front of the camera, I feel like directors can work with you if a lot easier if you understand and you see things from their point of view as well.
Yeah.
But what's also nice about making my own films as well is putting castings out and seeing if anyone and hopefully people respond to it, and getting to meet new people and working with new people and networking and sharing other ideas, and then possibly working with them again on something else, and maybe it's something that they want to get off the ground, and if I can help out in any way in that, then I'll do it, if it's the right sort of project. So yeah, and then also I do physio as well. Like I'm a physio assistant, so that's based on an inpatient thing at the side of the hospital, working with people who have ended up in the intensive care unit for whatever reason, perhaps ill health or surgery, and then you work with them quite closely where they're, I guess, immobile and try to rebuild them, I guess, and get them back up on their feet. And you follow them from the intensive care unit down to the wards, and 9 times out of 10 it goes pretty well. And you help them on their way, and they get discharged. And occasionally you may hear from them, or they may pop in to say hello, or I mean, it's a local hospital as well, so you could be in the street and bump into someone, which is nice to see, and that's quite rewarding as well. Kind of reminds me of what, as I said, when I did parkour, like I used to teach it as well, and to see someone who had no confidence whatsoever to do what I thought was like a really simple thing, to them being able to backflip off things was really rewarding. I really like that, and it's kind of the same thing with this job, really. When people haven't been on their feet for a while, they can very much lose not only strength and muscle mass, but the confidence as well.
Yep.
So yeah, it's quite good to see them get back on their feet and run along and get back to some form of function in life, I guess.
I will pick you up on a couple of things there. I'll start off with the extra stuff. Is I did a lot of extra work in my younger life, and I was speaking to I speak to loads of people about it, but sometimes I felt that being an extra, you couldn't go to be an actor because they didn't like it, and it's good to see that there are people like yourself that have progressed to not only being an actor but being a writer, director, producer, and taking that forward. That's your own drive, I guess. So that's good. I'm going to come back to that at some point. Parkour, come on, that's
Yeah,
pretty good.
yeah, absolutely loved it. It was the best time of my life, I think. Like, oh, I had so much fun just being able to travel up and down the country. And I was only a teenager when I started doing it, like professionally. Like my team, I think we put out a video, and then someone from like the local newspaper ran a story on us, and then the BBC saw that, and then one of the biggest teams in the UK, like a parkour free running team at the time, it's the biggest, one of the biggest in the UK, if not the world, probably, reached out to a friend and I, and asked us to sort of do a couple of performances and a couple of classes on their behalf. And yeah, just getting like free travel, free food, a bit of money here and there. And we were like, this is sweet. I want to do this for the rest of my life. But yeah, you know, like injuries happen and stuff as you get older, and I think I kind of got to a point where I mean, I smashed my knee to bits, and the year before that, I tore my ligament. Didn't completely shatter the knee, but took a huge beating. And I was just like, need to reevaluate myself. Like, why am I getting all of these injuries? And then I realized the motivation and I guess the love to do it every day, because it was every day. We'd be out on the street all day, for like 10, 12 hours, just having a blast, jumping off walls. And then, yeah, just more and more injuries I picked up, and I just realized maybe now isn't the time for me to keep continuing it. Let me try something different. And that's when I got into acting.
You see, that's the skill that you can obviously use in acting, because there's, you know, being on set, there's lots of things that require jumping around. We've seen parkour in lots of films, including things like James Bond and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's a skill that you can obviously teach as well. So, you know, as a coordinator, as a stunt choreographer coordinator, it's something that you could teach as well. So when people are doing a scene and they want like a particular running scene, for example, where people are jumping over things, let's use Tom Cruise. A lot of his a lot of his Mission Impossible movies requires a lot of him running and jumping and stuff like that. So it's a skill that you can definitely use, and yeah, it's definitely. I envy you because I need him to do it.
Side of things, to be fair, actually, yeah, that would be great. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, like I said, I always wanted to do it. It always looked like something that I thought I could do because I was good at playing tag as a kid. Did you know that tag means touch and go? I didn't even know.
Touch and go, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and the film's really good as well. If you've ever seen that,
I haven't, but I'll have to look out for it. But
great film, so much fun. Check it out; it's good.
And people now do that professionally as well. Now you can,
What?
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, there's tag championship.
You should definitely apply.
I'm still quite nimble, I think I could do it. I'm not going to lie. Even when I play with the kids, I mean, I'm faster than them as well, So
yeah, give it a go.
You talked about so you come from parkour to being a PT assistant and what that does. And the only reason why I bring that up is because I had something called compartment syndrome when I was 20 years old, I think it was. And I required a lot of physiotherapy. And I basically had to learn how to walk again, which was difficult. I mean, the first time I stood up after not being on my feet for, I think, about 2.5 weeks, I could barely hold my own weight.
Yeah.
And so people like myself will always be grateful to people like yourself that take the time to get us through that. And yeah, it's it's one of those things that we take it for granted. We do. You've mentioned it, that you ligaments, knee and stuff like that, and those are injuries. And when you're out for a little while, you really take it for granted. I took it for granted that I could always run and cycle and jump about and stuff like that. And then when I couldn't walk, it was just, oh wow, I had tears in my eyes because it's the first time I stood up and couldn't hold my weight. I thought, I'm never going to be able to do this. Yeah, you talked about it being rewarding, but how is that? What sort of processes do you take people through?
Not just physical processes as well, but emotional, mental processes as well. One of the things I do, I don't know, because I feel like I'm quite good at talking to people and quite good at reading people. And I feel like sometimes I know what people's limitations are and whether or not I can get them to jump to the next level, for example. But I feel like I'm quite good at understanding what people go through as well. And I think sometimes in that sort of environment, you have to be compassionate, of course, but I think some people focus on, okay, just put one leg in front of the other. And it's kind of with me as well, a lot of people say, oh, don't let me fall. I don't want to fall. And I'm like, look, this is something I used to tell myself when I used to do parkour, right? And I used to, there was this free runner called Daniel Labaka who said, choose not to fall. And I think what he meant by that was, if you're sizing up a jump that you're not 100% confident in doing, and just don't do it. But if you feel like you can do it, but you're still scared about falling, it's kind of take away the thought of falling and just commit to the jump. So I say to the patient, look, you're not going to fall. The moment you start thinking about falling is when you don't trust yourself and you're so anxious about the possibility of what could go wrong. You take your mindset away from the possibility of what could go right. All you need to do is put one foot in front of the other and the rest will follow. And it was the same thing when I was learning how to backflip. Someone said to me, where the head goes, the body follows. So if I throw my head this way, my body's going to go this way. But if I just look up, my body will follow. And it's the same sort of thing, really.
It's, you know what, that's very good, because I think for people, there's that fear of going, oh, I don't know if I can do that. And
Mm.
Like, I suppose it's getting over that psychological barrier of just going, well, no, you probably can. And the right encouragement from someone like yourself who's A, done it, B, got people through it to do it themselves, gives you that extra bit of confidence to be able to do something. It's as we talked about it, going from your teens to doing parkour, free running, being in a big group to um, being an extra, then getting into the whole thing behind the scenes and learning those things. How did you feel those things, like your early experiences, influenced where you are now?
I feel like everything that's ever happened to me has happened for a reason. And I think I've lived the life not many people have lived. Like, still to this day, people don't know what parkour is unless I say, you ever seen James Bond where the bad guy jumps off the crane and he's chasing Bond, and they're like, yeah, or like some that film came out in 2006 and some people don't even know what it is. The moment I say, oh, you jump off buildings, they're like, oh yeah, I understand, but it's so much different from that. So yeah, I mean, I was never really into football or rugby, any sport to do with a ball. I was absolutely bored stiff. And I remember, like, in PE, we play football all the time. I remember one day they actually said, the PE teacher said, anyone who has forgotten their shoes will be doing trampolining with the girls. And I was like, great, I'm going to do that. So I threw my trainers in the bin and told teachers that I had forgotten my trainers. And they said, well, you're just going to have to play football in your socks. You're just going to have to go and goal. And I was just like so frustrated, like, because we've been playing football for like the best part of 5 years, and I just had enough. And whenever I was in goal, I'd just let the ball in, or I'd find myself just balancing on the goal post, or maybe doing a cheeky flip off it, and everyone getting really annoyed that the ball'd gone in. I'm just like, look, guys, I'm not here for this. So much more you can do with your body than chasing a ball. And then like I struggled in school academically. The only things I really showed an interest in was art and drama, performing arts. So that's kind of where I did well, and English as well, food tech, and and just as I say, like, I got into parkour, and we committed every day to that. From when I was 13 until I stopped doing it about when I was like 22, 23. And I think because I grew up on an estate as well, there was very little to do. But the good thing about these post World War II estates is like the architecture is really well built and suited for parkour. And I wouldn't say you could look at someone the wrong way and get your head kicked in, but like there was a lot of people because there was nothing to do. People just fight, really. Um, Not to say there wasn't like stabbings and stuff like that, but it was almost like, okay, we're just gonna have a fight because there's nothing else to do. So you kind of had to be a bit careful about that. And at the time, before I did parkour, I did skating. So I think I was a prime target for like chavs and stuff like that. And then when I started backflipping off stuff, like all those people used to call me Backflip Bill for some reason and loved it. Yeah, and they would. I think some of them like were into like rapping and making grime and stuff like that, and they would say, "Can we get you in our music video?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay, let's do that." And I think even then, like those little music videos that were made on like a little potato camera were probably like my first introduction, I guess, in a way to like um, screen acting. I guess because I'd only ever been on stage as a kid, like doing local theatre shows and school plays. So yeah, and with my parkour team, we used to make videos like showcasing what we would do, but it was just for ourselves really. It wasn't really to show off or anything. It was just okay. I'm gonna jump over this and we're gonna film it. But yeah, I guess those videos were like the first time I was in front of a camera actually performing. which I guess kind of helps me out in the long run, I guess. And I think when those people started bringing cameras to like the parks and stuff, I thought, do you know what? I really want a camera. And I used to try and find ways to make parkour videos, but with some narrative. They were really like cringy as well. But I guess that's when I started making films when I was like 16. And also with the acting as well, like it's such an oversaturated industry. You've really got to have something special about you, the right look, or I don't know, it could be anything. Like I honestly can't say. Just luck, I guess. So no one wanted to give me a shot because I couldn't afford to go to drama school. And I think this was back in the day where you kind of had to go to drama school to get any sort of acknowledgement. And I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to make my own stuff. So I did. And through doing that, I made my first show reel, which was probably enough to get me my first job as an extra, I think. And yeah, just started doing that for a couple of years, really learning what it was like to be in front of a camera, behind a camera, all the different terms that people were using on set. And then I also did modeling as well before acting. And it got to a point where I was just getting a bit bored of it because you're just standing around, someone's taking photos of you. And I wanted a new challenge. And that's kind of when I was just like, yeah, I'm going to keep doing this extra stuff. But at the same time, I want to know what it's like to learn a screenplay and how that differs from doing stage, which I'd done since I was a kid. And I think the first screenplay I actually read was Fight Club. And yeah, just because no one was giving me like these scripts for like short films and stuff, or I couldn't get any lines in, as an extra. So just went on the internet and downloaded Fight Club for some reason. And yeah, and I did extra work for probably about 5 years, and then someone took a chance on me and asked me to do a boxing film.
You see, I've said I did extra work, and I was always quite chilled in the sense that like there would always be somebody on set, another extra that would want to be. Oh, do you want me to say something? Do you want me to say something? And I was always just like, you know what? I'm quite chilled. I'm always quite relaxed. I'd probably just be having fun because I remember one of the first jobs I did. It was I don't think I was used. So you spend the whole time just talking with other extras and stuff like that, and you go, "Well, this is not what I expected." And you're there early, as you said, and you finish later than most people. That's a wrap for such and such, and you go, "Okay, yeah, it's fine."
Yeah,
yeah. It's how you got into it is. I suppose it has in itself. It's been a journey, and I'll go with two questions, but one that you sort of touched on already, just to get a bit more in depth about it, and then we'll roll into another one, which should hopefully fit quite nicely. So, what made you get into this because you started young, you started acting young, as you said. You were doing drama classes and stuff like that. Like me, I wasn't the whole. School didn't really interest me so much. I loved PE because I just like running around, and I always had energy to run around and do. I'm all right at most sports if I give it a go. But yeah, drama was one of the ones that always interested me, and I think that started when I did like a school play, and I was King Herod or something like that, and you get a few parents clapping for you, and you think I'm top of the world. So what made you get into this field of work?
Well, like I say, I think it's because like I wasn't academic at anything, and something I've just learned about myself. So I'm 32, right? And towards the end of last year, I got diagnosed with ADHD. So my whole life makes complete sense now, because I generally thought there was something wrong with me, right? And I had an interest in school. I loved being at school, but like things like maths, no matter, I even had a maths tutor, right? And no matter how many times they used to try and drill it into my head, I just wasn't picking up on it. So in maths, and certain subjects that I couldn't understand, I would just turn off and daydream, and I wasn't even aware I was doing it, right? And teachers would call me lazy and not troublesome, but like, I don't know. I remember my mum talking about this a lot, and she thought maybe I was dyslexic, but the school never wanted to do a test. But the teachers, I think because they noticed the only lessons where I came alive and showed some interest in was art and acting. And so I was always getting put forward for like, not the lead in like the school plays and stuff, but like they would always ask me, "Oh, do you want to do this and stuff?" And like, we're gonna make our own costumes and props. And I was like, absolutely. Like, I'm combining the creative side with like the performance side, and I absolutely loved it. And I think because teachers would push, I was almost what you were saying about when you were an extra and they would say, "Oh, do you want a line to say?" And you sort of shied away from it. Whenever I'm anywhere, like even if I was in like I don't know, like watching a show and they say, "Okay, does anyone want to come up on stage?" I'll put my hand up. I'll be the first to volunteer because I just love it. Really, it's a laugh and it's something to do and be part of. And so I was always the first to like jump at these school plays and stuff. And through, from like being 6 years old when I played a jellyfish in something that I don't quite remember, to being 18 and leaving school thinking, what am I going to do with my life? Well, at that time, I wanted to do parkour, but I thought, well, okay, this is good and all, but I really need like something to fall back on because I'm going to get old one day and I may not be able to jump off walls and do this for much longer. And yeah, as I say, like my injury took place when I was 22. So then that's when I started to go down the acting route. So I think it was just like a love for performing, being creative, an escape from reality and stepping in someone else's shoes. Um, and all these different sort of professions and just the craftsmanship I quite liked about it as well. And being on stage as well, like I absolutely thrived off the audience's energy. And I loved that. And I did a show a couple of years ago. It was a touring show of Only Fools and Horses.
Lovely.
Uh, and I played Boise and Trigger. And it was the first sort of theatre thing I'd done since I was like, I don't know, like 20. And I did Only Fools and Horses when I was 27, 28. So I was nervous, but it was something I wanted to get back into. And the first night, I absolutely bottled it. Second night, people were digging it. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. I want to do this for the rest of my life. I want to perform to like a live audience again. And just every show got better and better and better. And I thought, there's no way we can top this. But every night, we just smashed it, absolutely topped it. And got a good response from people. The director got really good feedback from what we were doing, and myself as well, because I was playing two characters, so a lot of lines to learn as well. And that's another thing. I really struggled to learn lines, and I think that's probably got now. As I said earlier, now I have been diagnosed with ADHD. It kind of makes sense now. So I really, really struggle, but I really have to sit down and just stop everything else I'm doing. And it's the first thing I look at in the morning and the last thing I look at night. And I think if I can remember these lines as I've just woken up and I'm just about to go to bed and I'm really tired, I should remember them when I'm in fifth gear in the day on set somewhere or on stage somewhere. So it's just repetition, isn't it? It's like you go to the gym to get big. You keep doing that thing, you're going to get bigger and stronger. And I guess acting is a muscle memory kind of thing, isn't it? You use this and then the body follows. And um, yeah. So I guess the more you do it, the better you get, the more confident, the stronger you get.
You see, the way you put that is
I hope that made sense, because I felt like
perfect. It's
yeah.
perfect sense. It's like you. I said, I love drama. I absolutely loved it, and we always in drama class. My teacher, Mr. Shepherd, he looked like Shakespeare. He looked like Shakespeare. He
No
was
way.
he was the loveliest man in the world. Like he was absolutely, he was so funny. And we used to just mess around in his class, and then he'd go, right, so what have you guys done? And then we just put something together, and it would just be, well, that was perfect. Like, you know, because he'd go, well, you guys are going first, and we'd always go first, and then always just smash it out of the park, because, you know, we was all just like friends and funny together. And when it came to doing a performance on stage in a proper theatre, it was at the Stratford East Theatre Royal in Stratford East, London. And we were still at school, and this was a paying audience, you know, as well as our friends and I suppose parents, really, and they were paying people as well. And I did a screen punch, and that interaction you get from being on stage is just different to being on set, because it's instant. Yeah, you know, you get that instant reaction. So I get punched, and it fades to black straight away, and all I heard was ooh, because I hit the floor. So it sounds like I've been punched, and then I hit the floor, and then when the lights come back on, it's one of my friends was talking about, yeah, this is how we got to become being homeless, and we're sitting around the you know, a table, and I'm there sort of sitting back like that. And but it's infectious. It's one of those things that you just go, oh yeah, I
It
can
is.
definitely do
It
this.
is. The audience are just the fuel to your fire. Like, I had to strip, kind of in something I was doing, and there was a lot of like people, a lot of women, and a few hen parties, and obviously it got a bit messy. And because this was this immersive theatre that I was doing as well, and so like the audience can interact with you and stuff, and you pull them up, and yeah, I had to strip at some point. Nothing too crazy, but they were sort of egging me on. So me being me, I was just like, "Eff it, I'm gonna take the whole lot off," you know. Because I always say to people, "Don't dare me to do something," because I, you know, 9 times out of 10, I'll go and do it. Yeah. So they were egging me on. I was like, "I'm having a good time. I'm feeding off of this energy." Just took the whole lot off.
Why not? Full Monty.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what?
And everyone's having a good time, so why not?
You know what? It's yeah. It is when we do where as beings we're energy suckers. You know, I was teaching my kids, because my kids are kid 1 is 12 and kid 2 is 7, and I from very young ages I've taught them about pack mentality. So pack mentality means that in a group of people, you will do things that you wouldn't necessarily do. So as my daughter's the oldest, and you know, I talk to her a lot about it as kid 1, and I go, look, there'll be certain things that you'll be doing, and you'll go, but something inside you will just say to you, that doesn't feel right. I said, that's usually your gut instinct telling you it's probably not right. I said, there'll be something inside you that will say, oh, you know, I want to do this. And I said, that's your gut instinct telling you you want to do it. And then I said, then there's a feeling of being in a group of people and everybody getting charged up and you just going with it. And whatever your thoughts and feelings are, you can't really control. And I said, that's pack mentality. I said, it happens all the time. And
you're feeding off their energy, aren't you, as well? Yeah, for sure.
And it's I said, sometimes it's absolutely fantastic, and it's, you know, like I said, you have the most bestest times of your life. You know, going skinny dipping in Barbados at night time, so it's, you know, it's dark outside, we're on the beach, we're going skinny dipping, we're in Barbados, we're drinking rum punch. That's not a good idea.
Oh, I've done that. Woke me up.
Yeah,
Woke me up and sobered me up as well. But I wouldn't advise it.
I know it's only hindsight that tells you, yeah, that was a bad idea. It wasn't, but you know, at no point did I think, are there sharks in here? Like that, it never even crossed my mind.
No, especially when you're sort of drunk as well.
The rum
Yeah,
punch is good.
but I think what you're saying about gut instincts as well. Like 9 times out of 10, when my gut has told me not to do something, it's been for the best. Like there's been projects that have come my way, and I've had chats with like directors and writers who are doing it, and I don't know, like when you're just talking to someone, you kind of okay, I'm not really feeling this. I don't know if it's going to be worth my time, or if I do commit to it, how's it going to turn out? Is it, all those sort of questions. And thankfully, I mean, I've been caught out a few times, but it usually works within my favor. And the times that I do say no, like I've looked at those projects when they're complete, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm so glad I weren't a part of that. And you hear stories from people who have worked in certain things, and they're like, you did the right thing turning this one down. Like we all hated it and stuff like that, or there were so many reshoots we had to do, and it took the love out of the project, which is why we signed up for it. And yeah, and in fact, even when I used to do parkour, like I'd be standing or something, and my body would say, "Just don't do it. This is a really bad idea." And you have to listen to that because there's no take two. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, there is an acting, but not in parkour. But yeah, and I've always listened to my gut, and even just like being out in public, I feel like I'm very streetwise, and I can sort of read people quite well, and I can evade quite quickly. And again, I think that has something to do with the parkour. Not to keep going back to that, but I feel like whenever I step in a room, I'm always looking for the quickest and easiest way out of there. Don't know why, but something I've always done. But yeah, just listen to your gut; it will guide you. And if you
100.
and if you don't listen to it, those experiences will teach you not to do it again in the future. I feel like you always learn a lesson.
You always learn a lesson. That's 100%
Absolutely.
fact. And
Yeah.
my kids get bored of me saying it because they'll do something, and I'm not a horrible parent, by the way. I'm all right, but I'll laugh and then go, I was going to laugh, and they'll go, yeah, and I'll go, what did you learn? And they'll be like, my son especially, be like, I don't know, like you must have learned something, and then he'll say something like, I shouldn't do that again. I go, no, not you shouldn't do that again. I said, you've hurt yourself here, but I said, you learn how to do it better the next time. I said, your gut wasn't telling you that you couldn't do it. And I said, that's youth and inexperience and stuff like that. But I said, you will just learn to do it different the next time. So,
Yeah.
but I said, I laughed because I use humor to mask the whole fact that they've hurt themselves. It's just easier to laugh and just go,
Yeah, it's easy. Yeah,
you'll be all right.
you'll be all right. Just do it better next time with a bit of grace. Yeah, it's like riding a bike.
And if not,
you do that first of all, but you fall off and you just get on, and then you learn. When you lose your balance, you learn to put your foot down, to stop yourself, to stabilize yourself. You use the brakes. You control your speed, and maybe it'd be a bit more. Like for some reason, my boy's really good at. He's 2. He's really good on his bike. He's got a pedal bike and he's lifting his legs up. But for some reason, he's doing this really stupid thing where he's just walking around the house with his eyes closed and bumping into things. And then he gets upset. And I'm like, why do you keep doing this? I'm like, have you hurt yourself? He's like, yeah. I'm like, where does it hurt? And he just points to his head. I'm like, were you walking around with your eyes closed? He goes, yeah. Don't do that, man. Like, But I guess it's fun when your kids do that, isn't it?
It is so much fun. Yeah, they all do it. It's crazy. There'll be certain things that you'll see your son doing as he's getting older, and that's not to wish anything away. But you will see certain things and you'll go, why is he doing that? That doesn't why? And you speak to other parents, they'll go, yeah, this one does that one, and even something like throw. My son used to get frustrated. He used to throw himself backwards a lot. And one of my nephews used to do that a lot. and instant reactions was never my instant reaction, but instant reactions were, oh, you know, I'd be like, if he hurt himself that much, he wouldn't do it again.
Yeah, true. Very true.
And it hurts a little bit, but it hurts enough to be fun. That it's not that much of an issue, and it's because they get that instant, oh, you okay? They just go, oh, okay, yeah, I like that.
And also, what we were saying about the what you were saying about okay. As soon as you do that, you react that way. I think it's going back to what we were saying about feeding off energy. If you're like, oh, are you okay? Then kids are just like, no, you know, like they think about it, and then that's when the tears come. But if you're just like, okay, man, like my boys usually like, yeah, you know, I think when you overreact and you make it sound like it's a problem or that they should be hurt, that's when they respond differently.
Here's a quick pro dad tip, okay?
Yeah, I need as many as I can get.
No, it's basically what you said. Is I always go, especially when they're playing. If they hurt themselves when they're playing with other kids or, you know, cousins and family and stuff like that, you go, do you want to stop playing? And they'll go, no. You go, well, carry on. You'll be all right. And it's if you stop them from playing and they don't like it, so they just go, no, I'm fine, I want to carry on. It's like, then just carry on. It's going to hurt for a bit, you know. You sort of cry and let it out, and then you just carry on. I said that's just part of it. So my son does that well now. So he'll fall over, he'll hurt himself, he'll have a little cry sometimes, not all the time actually. Sometimes he does. He goes, I didn't cry. But like, oh, okay, you know, it's okay to cry. Let it out. But he's like, no, I just want to carry on. So he just carries on. And he's just like, okay,
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, my boy now says, like he'll do something, he goes, didn't even cry, which is funny, really funny. Don't know where he's got that from.
Yeah. Like son. What do you think of the industry? What do you think of the media industry, the TV industry, the film industry, the theatre industry? What do you think of the industry as a whole? What's your feelings behind it?
Judgmental, because it is, right? It's hard, and if you can't take criticism and people judging you, then don't waste your time trying to commit to it for the next 5-10 years, because it can be like really frustrating. You can get bitter. There's this actor I know, and we've been speaking, and they were just saying like, so done with like all these indie films and stuff, like they're just not paying and stuff. And I was just like, dude, you're so lucky to be in a position where people are asking you to be part of their projects and stuff. Like, okay, there may not be much money in it, but like you're doing this and you're doing a lot of those films where you don't have to go and get like a 9-to-5 job in, you know, on the side. Like, I'd love to do some of those films that they've done. So I think also be appreciative about what does come your way as well. If something isn't right for you, like I'm vegetarian, so if anyone sent like a McDonald's advert my way, unless I'm eating like a McPlant or drinking a can of Coke or something, a can of Coke, you know, like a Coke, then I'm not gonna do it. And like I don't like gambling either. And there's been a few auditions I've had in the past, a couple of years ago, for like gambling adverts. I'm just like, I'm not going to promote something that goes against my morals. Do you know what I mean? Because people can get addicted to gambling and McDonald's, to be fair. And it's just like, I think unless something is right for me, then I'm not just going to do it for the sake of doing it for the money or to get seen on TV. Like, other things will come my way. But yeah, the industry as a whole can be a really good one. And I think the best thing about it, it's the community, like all the other actors that are a part of it, chasing the same dream as you are. Because I don't think no one understands this industry unless you're in it. There was a conversation I had with my wife who has no acting experience at all, absolutely hated drama back in the day, and there was this time where we were having a chat, and things were getting hard a bit financially for us at one point, and I was dead against getting like a full-time job, and I was just like, no, it's not what I set out to do. I'm on a path, on a journey of acting. You knew that. And she was like, I just didn't know it would be this hard or this long, which is fine for her because, you know, she's coming into like my world, right? Okay. And I think that's something, if you're coming into acting, you need to learn that easily. Like, this is not going to be an overnight thing. And if you're getting into it for fame and sponsorship deals, then just go on Love Island. Like, this is not the thing for you, because you can almost feel like a donkey chasing a carrot sometimes. You know, you're never gonna get it, and if you do get it, like, I said that the wrong way. I hope you're gonna get it. I hope everyone who sets out to do something in life, whether you want to be a doctor, a teacher, or an actor, no matter how hard, how long it takes you to get there, if it's something you really want to do, then don't take your eye off the ball. And another little quote I picked up was, so I remember once when I went fishing with my dad and his friends when I was a kid, and we stayed overnight. And the next day, I said to my dad, "Oh, Dad, that was a bit disappointing. Like, it was boring, wasn't it?" He goes, "Why was it boring?" I said, "Well, we didn't catch anything." He said, "It doesn't matter about the fish. What matters is that you're surrounded by people that you love, your friends, and you've all come together to do something you enjoy doing together. It doesn't matter if you get a bite or not. It's taking part and having fun along the way." And I kind of feel that about acting now. So it's like, I think as long as you're just having fun, meeting people, auditioning, and enjoying it, all the while you're doing that, then you're winning. I think it doesn't matter if you're the next James Bond, or if you're not in Marvel, or, you know, like EastEnders or something like that. It doesn't matter if, you know, just keep chasing it, and have fun. And I think every audition you get, just give it your all, because there's a lot of people who would love to be auditioning, um, myself included. Like, I've got a really good agent now, so I'm finally being seen by like the right people in the industry, like some of the casting directors that I prayed would give me a chance to audition for them, and it just wasn't coming. I would write to them and nothing was coming. But now my agent is a very good salesman. I don't know what he's telling them I can do, but he gets me in the room, and I'm getting some really good things come through, and I really enjoy it. Really, I've really fallen in love with auditioning, because it's a chance to act. You know, when I finish my day job and I put my son to bed, it's just my wife and I. We'll crack out this audition, and I'll probably be a bit too much of a perfectionist and make it go on a bit longer than it needs to. But yeah, we do have fun with it. And I think as long as you can find the fun in something and it's not a chore, then just enjoy yourself and trust the process and enjoy the journey.
It is. It is a good industry. It is one you do have to be a bit thick-skinned to be able to deal with the setbacks and stuff like that. Um, how do you deal with those challenges? How do you deal with those? And um, yeah, how do you deal with that?
What was the question? Sorry, it kind of broke up a little bit.
Sorry, yeah. How do you deal with those setbacks? Because as you said, it's an industry where unfortunately there's a lot of rejection. A lot of people that are gonna, especially with social media now, lots of people are very quick to criticize. And
Mm.
so, how do you deal with those challenges and setbacks?
Well, I don't really care too much what critics say, because a lot of the people who go on, like keyboard warriors, who go on and say, "Oh, I watched this thing on Netflix yesterday," didn't like, especially if it's based on something like a game or a book that they really love or something. I just think, well, you could have done it better, could you? Like, you sell fish, for example, you know. And it's just like, just enjoy the thing. And if you don't like it, then you don't have to tweet about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, people are capable of having thoughts without having to tweet about it and stuff. And as Mike Tyson says, social media made people comfortable with running their mouth off and not getting bopped in the mouth for it. But yeah, so yeah, I don't really care what critics say. You can't please everyone, and you can't make everyone happy. I think the most important person that you make is happy is yourself, and then your circle of friends and family around you. Yeah, that's it really. And with rejection, to like, I don't even call it rejection now. It used to get me down, but I just think, well, do you know what? Like, with some auditions I've had in the past, and then when I've seen like those shows come out or those films come out, I think, yeah, do you know what? Like, I 100% wasn't right for that. I would have ruined it. Or especially when they're based on people, like real life people. And I think, I look nothing like that person. How on earth did I get in the room to audition for it? Like, critics would have said, oh, he doesn't look that way, you know. Yeah, so I don't really care about critics. People, everyone's entitled to an opinion, so just let them have it.
Don't listen to it, and you know,
don't pander to it as well.
Use it ready. That's the trick, isn't it?
Yeah, just let them.
Let's talk about some projects that you're currently doing.
Yes. Yeah, go on. Oh, there it is.
Let's talk about some projects that you're currently working on. Tell us what you're currently working on. What's Louis currently doing?
So I've got 3 to 4, maybe 5 short films that I need to wrap up on.
Yeah.
There was never any real rush to get these done ASAP. They're all made for love and for fun and meeting new filmmakers and stuff and actors and again, that was the pandemic that sort of delayed a lot of those things. But now they're in a position where I'm able to work on them again and hopefully get them out soon. I've got one film in film festivals at the moment. It came. It made it to the semi-finals round at the San Francisco Film Festival, and it's I'm really happy with that. And we've got a really good review by UK Film Review, who I was a little bit scared of them reviewing it. To be fair, I know I just said I'm not too worried about what people think, but this was something that I wrote, directed, edited, and also acted in it. So like I put my whole heart and soul into it. So I was really worried about what they were going to say, and there were some technical issues as well, but no one seems to have picked up on that. Thank God. But I think because obviously you work so closely on it, you do recognise the sort of the creases in your shirt, don't you? So yeah, they were really kind and generous with their write-up and their review. We've got a couple more film festivals that it's been submitted for. Hopefully hear something back in early June, and then I'm going to release it. That's an interesting dynamic between a relationship between a woman who turns 50 and my character who is like 30, late 20s. They're in a relationship and she finds out she's pregnant, and so it kind of sparks a conversation about what they're going to do, and sort of puts the relationship in a bit of a sort of sketchy situation, I guess, where they're not really too sure what to do, and I guess the relationship's hanging on by a string. It's on thin ice towards the end of the film, but it's, from those who have seen it and reviewed it, they said it's very much like watching theatre, which I thought was probably the best compliment I could get for a film. And then we are currently just grading The Protege Part 1, which I hope is going to be a small trilogy of films. I've written Part 2 and 3. Part 3 needs a lot of work doing to it, so I'm still writing that. But The Protege very simply follows a girl who works a 9-to-5 job, and her husband is killed for an unknown reason, but she seeks revenge from her older brother, who I play, who has some form of military SAS sort of query mercenary experience. And she's like, I want you to kill this guy, and he hasn't seen his sister for about 10 years, so their relationship as siblings isn't really in a good place. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do this. And so she's like, fine, I'll do it myself. And then it's kind of, it fasts forward to like this montage of, I guess, hypothetically, what would happen if he trained her to become like this elite killing machine where she could like track down this guy and kill him. Would she go through with it? And the important message is, he says, I could teach you how to do all of this, but it's not going to bring your husband back, you know. It's like, how would you live with that once you've put a bullet in someone? It's not going to bring your husband back. So how do you move on? How do you live with that? How do you live with those choices you make? And accidentally, it wasn't actually supposed to be a trilogy. We just made something for the love of making film and acting and coming together. And then I had so much fun. I wanted to do it again or do something similar. And then I think the trailer for Extraction 2 came out. And I was just like, oh, let's just do it. So I've conned my friends into doing it again. And then the other thing we've just shot, well, not just shot, it was the last thing I shot in, I think, October when it snowed last year. My friends came down from Blackpool and came to visit, and we were like, let's just make a film. And this is about it's a horror. It's my first horror that I've directed and written. So completely out of my comfort zone, because I'm used to writing dramas and sort of melodramatic things and rom-coms and relationship-based films. And this is about a guy who is keeping this illness from he's plagued by this illness, and all he wants to be is a good dad and a good husband. And this illness is like crippling him, and it's and he goes off every night, and his wife thinks that he's cheating on her, but he's actually a werewolf, and so he's going away every night to save him from himself. But if you look past that, if you look past the werewolf stuff and it being a horror, it's essentially about a man struggling to cope with mental health and taking himself off because he feels like he's a poor husband, a poor father. And so when you see him going through the change, it's him letting go of all of that, stepping into sort of like a new life as such. And at the end, when he's covered in blood, someone comes to meet him and puts this blanket on him as he's freezing in the snow, and it's him accepting help. So yeah, that's I guess a bit artistic as well. So that's just been scored. Got a really good composer called Stuart Wright. He sent me a couple of demos of what he's working on. That's really good. And then we've got a film that we shot just after the pandemic, which is about a window cleaner who, whilst taking on a new client, recognizes the guy who lives there, and it turns out to be someone from his past, an old teacher from his school. And I really don't want to give anything away, but it's quite dark. It's quite dark. And as he holds his teacher accountable for something, the teacher's like, is that really what happened, or is that the way you remember it? And it's kind of like a game of chess. Like, the teacher's getting in my character's mind, and to the point where he almost believes it, and then the teacher slips up, and then it all kicks off. And then, other than that, this Friday we're doing rehearsals for a new film that I'm directing. Really glad I'm not in this one. It's a really good story that I wrote. I'm really happy with it. But it's just nice to be not to wear too many hats and just being able to wear one and concentrate on one job. And I really love directing. I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. So this one is about a delivery driver, a takeaway driver, who believes he's in denial about his daughter potentially being dead, and he finds her a year later on the anniversary of her disappearance/death, and he tracks her down and finds her, but all is not as it seems. And I'm working with my DOP Zach Fenning and Brandon Bailey, and also Dan Brooks is going to help us out, who works on all of our films. Shooting hopefully soon, and Richie Lamb is playing the lead. He's playing the father. Richie Lamb is he's not an actor. He's just incredible. You tell him to do something and he'll do it, and he'll do it to perfection. He played my dad in No Mercy, my first feature boxing film that I wrote, directed, and produced and starred in. And I remember when I was writing it, I was like, this, because I used to work with him, right, when I used to load lorries at UPS back in the day. And I was writing it, I was like, this character giving me Richie vibes. And obviously I wanted to work with actors, but I had a few people on self-tape for the part, but just wasn't doing it justice. So I was like, why don't I just ask Richie, see what he says? And his first response was F off. And I kept asking him, and I got the same response, until one day he told his wife I was pestering him, and she was like, just do it, you got nothing else to do. So we did it, and he is the star of the show. Like, we had a premiere 2 years ago for it, and everyone in that audience was clapping. There was tears, people coming up to him saying like he was the absolute star of the show, and he is. I'm so happy for him. I want someone to give him like a part in EastEnders where he takes over the Vic or something, because he'd be great in that. But yeah, it's going to be nice working with him again. And not only do we just make movies together, like we do meet up, like probably, don't know, maybe once a week, maybe, if we can, just have a coffee, talk films, talk life, sort of unload on one another, have a bit of a man chat, and unclog the mind, and just let it all go. Really, he's really good to talk to. Helped me in the past when I've been in some dark places. Really good to talk to. But yeah, Friday's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
It's, you know what, those are all very different films, but with all, as you say, different. So you've got the horror film, which is a werewolf film, but it's not a werewolf film. It's about mental health issues. It's about taking yourself away from it, and those are things that people can relate to, which is why it will do well.
I hope so.
It will.
I did a film based on like when I had depression, and that won a few awards actually, and that did quite well. But yeah, we just thought about doing something different, and it was supposed to be a horror film until I looked closely at what I thought. I looked closely at it, and I was like, actually, there's more to this than meets the eye.
It will do well. There's a lot to be said about mental health and how it's looked at, and it's scary. It's scary for those that are experiencing it and going through it at that time, and it's scary for those that don't know about it, because they don't know how to be around somebody at that time. They don't know what their triggers are and stuff like that. And this dad in this film is taking himself away from his family, and that's him and his coping mechanisms. But it's different for everybody. And like I said, it will do well, because it seems like it explains it in a way that people can relate to it in film, if you see what I mean. Not just like a self-help, or this is how it is. It's a film, so it can be scary. So, come out yourself and you're a werewolf, and can be angry and not sure of all your thoughts and where you are, but you've at a particular moment, you've had a moment of clarity just to go, I need to be away from people, I need to take a step back, and I need to deal with that. So yeah, like I said, I think that will do well.
The thing with that film as well, it's kind of like, so I think when people watch it from like an audience perspective, they'll be like, what is going on here? Because I feel like when people who have got depression, the thing they hide behind is a smile. Okay, and then the next, maybe the next day, you find like they may have taken their life, right? No one sees it coming. So it's kind of, I didn't want to spoon feed people with this story. Okay, so the hidden message is, okay, this is a guy who is struggling, he needs help. And it's, I guess, I think if you pay attention to like your friends and stuff, like you'll probably sense something isn't quite right, and perhaps just give them a call or just reach out to them, just ask if they're okay. And I think with this film, like, because it isn't like traditionally following someone who, as I say, didn't want to spoon feed and show, oh, here's a man who is struggling with depression or some form of mental health. I was hiding that from the audience, as those struggling tend to do. And I guess the werewolf is like his demon, which we all have our own demons in life. And it's, okay, you've gone through that really dark part where that demon's taking over, and then you let it go and just get help, which happens at the end of the film. So yeah.
It's not, like I said, I've there's a moth flying around there.
I saw it. It looks like a bat.
No, it's still there.
Stay there, we're live.
Yeah. He'll be back. He knows we're live. That's it. That's what it is. He's like, let me get on the phone.
5 minutes of fame.
It's, yeah, like I said, it's good that these films are out there, and it's good the way you're tackling it as well. You will provide me with links to all of this stuff, because obviously people will want to look into this more. Absolutely. And I'll be following keenly to see how these projects pan out and stuff like that, because yeah, these films sound quite cool, to be perfectly fair.
Thank you. Yeah, they're all a little bit different, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think that's the good thing about this industry. Going back to your question, I think as an actor, as a creative, as a storyteller, you're telling stories from all like different walks of life, aren't you? And not many people in life can say, oh, I've had a chance to experience what it's like being a lawyer, to be a doctor, to be a king, to play Henry VIII or something like that. Who can do that in, like, people who aren't part of this industry? Like, I feel as actors, you're really experiencing life, culture, stuff like that. And there's a lot you can learn from the arts, isn't there? So that's why I like it. You're not going through life being ignorant, I guess. And I think one of the good things that stories do is they educate you.
Yeah, 100%. It's one of those things where, as you just said, you experience different cultures. You take yourself out of things, and there was a lady I worked with, and she was saying to me that her son was shy, and I said, have you ever considered getting him into drama? And she said, no, never considered it. And I said to her, just try it. I said, you'll probably find that he will like it. I said, it forces you to come out of your comfort zone, because you have to perform. And she got him into it, and he changed. And there was one day he come and done work experience with us, and I was just like talking to him and saying, hi, and how are you feeling, and this, that, and the other. Just taking him around and showing him what I did and my role as for this company. And his mum was saying he's a totally different person. He's a totally different person. I said, yeah. I said, believe it or not, especially as guys. I said we need that. I said it's one of those things where it takes us out of our comfort zones to interact with people that we wouldn't necessarily always interact with, and then be somebody else, because that's who you are. You're somebody else. Even when you're playing yourself, you're somebody else because you're playing you, which is like a crazy paradox. But you're playing yourself. So you're not actually just being you.
Yeah, I think there's always an element of like role playing anything really. Like if you work on a till at like Sainsbury's or something, you're always gonna play like an element or the best version of yourself for some reason. Like I don't believe people intentionally want to be rude and horrible to people. And I think even when you've had like the worst day, if you're that checkout guy at Sainsbury's and you've had to, before you've come to work, you had to have your dog put down or something, and someone comes with their basket and you've got to scan it, and you can still play the best version of yourself and say hello. You can smile, you can be kind, and you can ask how they are and stuff, and escape from that part of life, I guess, if any of that made sense.
It does. I say hello to everybody because I'm like that. It's how I was brought up, and true story. I didn't get a parking ticket because I always say hello to the parking attendant that walks past our road, and he said, "Oh, is that your car?" I said, I think spoke to the good lady, my other half, and she said, yeah. She said, "Oh, I was looking for you." She said, "I didn't give you a ticket, but your parking permits run out." And I was looking. I didn't know which number you guys lived at, and your husband, and blah blah blah. And I was just like, I say hello to him every morning. A, because he's a nice fella and he says hello. So I say hello, and something like that paid off.
Dude, I'm the same, to be fair. Like, not all the time. Like, every morning I when I cycle, I always pass this old guy. And I don't know why, but I said hello to him. For some reason, he's about 80 odd. He's a good 80-year-old, I feel, quite physical, and very mobile. And from where I usually see him, like sometimes if I'm a little bit earlier, or I might catch him a bit further back, and sometimes if I'm a bit late, he'll be a bit closer to where I live. And I think, you must walk for miles. And I don't know what he's doing, if he's got a job somewhere, if he's just going for a walk to, keep fit. But I see him picking up litter as well. For all I know, he could be on community service picking up litter. But I just one morning, I just felt inclined to say hello to him. And I thought, he may have lost his wife yesterday. And here he is getting on with the world, picking up litter. And I just said hello to him, because I always think, like, when I'm that age, I'd like someone to reach out to me. And especially like with with the physio job as well, I always try and, like, even when you've met people who are alcoholics, right? Most people would judge and say, you've done this to yourself. I like to play devil's advocate and just think, okay, what drove you to alcohol? Like, I'm not going to judge, but I don't believe anyone gets into that just for the fun of it. And sometimes it could be, I guess, and addictions take over a bit stronger than what you perceive them to be, and then they finally get their claws into you and you're stuck. But people drinking heavily, taking drugs, it's kind of like, what got you to that moment? Just show a bit of kindness. And I think if you can show a bit of kindness, people might think twice about going down those sort of routes. And slowly harming him, slowly harming and slowly killing themselves, I guess. You know, to show a bit of kindness.
Yeah, I mean, look, I say hello to people because, and especially, you know, in industries that I've worked in, from, I'd say, myself to the top upwards and to the bottom downwards, um, somebody's got a story. Somebody's got a story to tell, and you don't know that person's story. You know, I remember speaking to one cleaner, again, elderly fella, where I work, and you know, people didn't know, but he was, I can't actually remember, but he was a teacher. He was a university teacher in his country. And, you know, I said, so how come you're doing this? He said, I just do it to keep myself active and to keep myself busy, and then to speak to people. And he'd always come and he'd always go, a question. And he's always learning. I mean, he's always learning. His mind is so active. And people, like I said, don't get me wrong, everybody that I worked with always spoke to him anyway, but you just go, if you don't speak to those people, you don't know their stories, you don't know their journeys, you don't know what they've been through. And that's the beauty of it. That's why it's good to talk, as Bob Hoskins said, on the PT adverts, and that's why we're behind the scenes, and that's why we're talking about it. Louis, I've kept you for long enough. This is my longest show in ever.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
No, like I said, it's
rambled.
No, but that's again, that's the beauty of it, and that's why I enjoy it. And there's things we didn't cover, so I'm going to have to get you back probably sooner rather than anything else, because there's a few more things I wanted to speak to you about, and about your experiences and where you're going and stuff like that. So I'll get you back sooner rather than later, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's do it. Hopefully some of my projects will be up by then as well.
Yeah. And again, we can talk about those a bit more in depth. And I was going to talk more about it, and then just, like I said, we just got chatting, and that's bad interviewer. That's what it is. It's a bad interviewer.
I don't think so.
Just gabbering on. But yes, thank you for your time. They call him Louis.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, amongst other things. Yeah.
They call me Stepney. This is Behind the Scenes. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me. Ciao. Bye, guys. Bye.